This is Daniel, not the prophet from the lion's den. This Daniel is a guy you'd probably see at your local coffee shop. Mid-30s, good job, decent apartment, the kind of smile that makes you think he's doing just fine. But if you could peel back the polite nods and casual small talk, you'd see the cracks. Daniel's been hit hard this past year. His company downsized. His closest friend moved away. His relationship fell apart. And if that wasn't enough, he's been waking up at 3 a.m. with that sinking feeling in his chest. The one where your brain won't stop running worst case scenarios. You know the one? The crazy part? On the outside, Daniel still looks together. He still shows up to work. Still makes his bed. Still posts pictures of sunsets on Instagram. But inside, he's tired. Not just physically tired. Soul tired. And then one day, over lunch with an old mentor, he blurts it out. I don't know how people stay strong through stuff like this. I feel like I'm barely hanging on. The mentor doesn't say much at first. Just nods, takes a sip of his coffee, and then says, Jesus actually explained the secret to being resilient and strong in life. Daniel raises an eyebrow. Really? Where? And this is where we step back. Because that secret isn't hidden in some rare, dusty manuscript. It's right there in the Gospels, tucked between stories you've probably heard 100 times. But like so much of what Jesus says, you have to slow down to really see it. One day, Jesus tells his followers, "Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock." That's it. That's the whole blueprint for resilience. And it's not about avoiding the storm or pretending the storm might sent you there. It's about being built on something that doesn't move when the storm hits. But here's what most people miss. Jesus doesn't say if the rain comes. He says when. In other words, storms are not a surprise feature of life. They're built into the human experience. So the question isn't, will trouble come? The question is, when it comes, will you still be standing? Think about it. We live in a world of quick fixes. We look for the next productivity hack, the next motivational quote, the next vacation to reset. But Jesus is talking about something deeper. He is saying strength isn't built in the moment you face the storm. It's built before the storm even shows up. Now picture it. 2 houses. From the outside, they both look fine. Same paint color, same size, same little garden out front. But under the ground, where nobody's looking, one sits on solid rock, and the other is balancing on shifting sand. They both look equally stable, until the first heavy rain. Then one shakes, cracks, and collapses. The other, it's still standing, water running down the walls, but unmoved. That's what Jesus is getting at. The storms reveal what you're really standing on. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Jesus doesn't say the rock is knowing about him. He says the rock is hearing his words and putting them into practice. It's obedience. Not the kind that earns you God's love. You already have that. But the kind that shapes you to trust him when everything else feels like it's slipping away. Let's be honest, it's easier to nod along to Jesus' words than to live them out. It's easy to agree with love your enemies until you actually have one. It is easy like the idea of do not worry until the bills stack up and you be lying awake at night. It's easy to post trust in the Lord until your plans fall apart. That's why resilience isn't built on theory. It's built on practice. Every time you choose to forgive when you want revenge, every time you choose to pray instead of spiral, every time you keep going when it would be easier to quit, you're digging deeper into that rock. Look at Jesus himself. He didn't just teach resilience. He lived it. In Gethsemane, sweating drops of blood, knowing the cross was hours away, he prayed, "Not my will, but yours be done." On the cross, mocked and abandoned, he said, "Father, forgive them." That's not sand foundation living. That's rock. And here's the part Daniel's mentor explained over that coffee. Resilience isn't about feeling strong in a moment. It's about knowing where your roots go. If your roots go into money, status, or comfort, storms will rip them up every time. If your roots go into Christ, Storms can rip through your life and you will still be standing. Bruised, maybe, but standing. The secret Jesus gave us is simple, but it's not easy. Hear his words, live his words. And when the rain comes, and you want to be scrambling to build a foundation in the middle of the storm, you'll already be standing on one. Daniel didn't leave that lunch with a 5-step self-help plan. He left with something better, a starting point. The storm didn't magically stop. His job didn't come back. His nights weren't instantly peaceful, but slowly, almost quietly, something started to shift. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? He started asking, how can I stand through this with him? And that question changes everything. So if you've been feeling like you're barely holding on, maybe you're asking the wrong question. Don't ask how to avoid the storm. Ask where you're building your house. Because Jesus already gave the secret to being resilient and strong in life. And the good news? It's not about you holding the storm back. It's about the rock holding you up.